waste management. Now we invite Shri Ajit Kumar Jain, IAS, former Additional Chief Secretary and former State Information Commissioner, Maharashtra, to give a presentation on solid waste management. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Shri Ajit Kumar Jain.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Editor-in-Chief of Construction Times, Mr. Ramamurthy, the Chief Guest of the program, Shri Raju Shivale, Honorable Member of Parliament, the special guest for this morning, Mr. Christopher Brown, Dr. Shri Hari, and all the friends, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really indeed to be happy here as part of this deliberation because, of course, I was introduced as an IAS officer, but I'm an ex-IAS officer. I'm a retired person, so to say, but I had the occasion of, or rather the privilege of working in different capacities, including the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai for nearly 4 years. And I'm also part of a team which worked on a business plan for Mumbai transformation in a project supported by the World Bank and Cities Alliance way back in 2005. And in that capacity, I happened to look into different aspects of Mumbai transformation into world-class city, including the physical infrastructure, roads, bridges, etc. And I was part of the team which kind of give some kind of a finality to different metros or different flyovers that are being constructed these days. Just to begin with, I'll very, very briefly introduce my present position. I am a founder director of post-retirement. I've set up a Section 8 company called Environment Research and Action Foundation, and I'm the founder director. And this particular organization has been working in the capacity building on solid waste management, Swachh Bharat Mission. We have conducted several capacity building workshops at national level with the support of Niti Aayog and Government of India and, of course, Government of Maharashtra. We have also worked on several environmental projects, including the environment compliance management of Mumbai-Nagpur Samruddhi Mahamarg, which is a very ambitious project. We are currently working on mangrove conservation project in P North Ward. It's a pilot project with the support of Mangrove Cell of Government of Maharashtra. And recently, we have been associated in an environment impact assessment study for a new ambitious project called Versova Virar Sealing. We have been working very closely with a very unique government entity called Mahapreet, which is Mahatma Phule Renewable Energy and Infrastructure Technologies, and jointly we are working on several projects. So this was a background, and why I mention in these many details is that when it comes to some environment-related projects, probably we can be part of the team for the purpose of hand-holding. I have been given the topic of solid waste management. I will like to present it in a different perspective of two very major initiatives that the Government of India has taken last 5-6 years. And these are being led by the Honorable Prime Minister of India. The one is the Swachh Bharat Mission, both urban as well as rural. And the other is the climate change agenda. And under the climate change agenda, he has given, I would say India has taken a self-imposed target of bringing net carbon zero economy by 2070 and to reduce emissions to 50% level by 2030. So whatever we discuss, I mean, if you see solid waste management, it is related to that agenda in a way. When you talk of Mumbai transformation, and if you want to make it sustainable, you have to keep that climate change or ESG agenda right in front of you. You can't ignore that. And I'm very happy that you are going to discuss the construction technologies, etc. today, and green construction technologies, which will be extremely important. And last part, before I come to the main presentation, is that now solid waste management after the Swachh Bharat Mission is being governed by solid waste management rules of 2016, and which is based on sustainable management. So with this background, I will start the presentation. I won't like to bore you with the statistics. We all know that solid waste management is a huge challenge. In the country as a whole, we generate about 50 million ton of solid waste on an annual basis. And if you look at MMR area, Mumbai Metropolitan area, it's about 10% of this quantity. So almost 5 billion ton of municipal solid waste or other solid waste is being generated every year. And of course, there are different estimates, guesstimates, whatever you may like to say, but this quantity is likely to go many times higher within a short span of time. It may go to 130%, 125 million ton or whatever it is, but it's going to be substantial. substantially higher. So whenever we talk of solid waste management solutions, you have to talk of waste reduction. Otherwise, you cannot go on deploying more trucks, you cannot go on deploying or rather acquiring more land, and that land is very scarce. I'll come to that. I will very quickly cover the historical perspective on solid waste management because this is important. And I was talking to many eminent people here that I have the advantage of being little experienced, and I know this particular sector right since the very first day the problem arose in the country. There are people from MCGM. It's an obligatory function of all the municipal councils or corporation. There was a very monumental constitution amendment in the country called 74th Constitutional Amendment, by which this function has become a constitutional duty of the municipal corporations or municipal council in every city. Now, third, if you see that this was a turning point in solid waste management. In fact, before 1994, there were a couple of committees which were set up by the then Planning Commission. There was one Bajaj committee, if you recall. I don't know how many people were there active at that time. And they looked at solid waste management. They talked in terms of better collection, better disposal, etc. But nothing really much happened on ground. In 1994 was an incident or major calamity of what you call pneumonic plague in Surat. And that really shook the entire country. And that was followed by a writ petition by a very eminent person called Almitra Patel ji. And she went to the Supreme Court all the way in a PIL, and then Supreme Court started this particular exercise. And they, on one hand, set up a committee called Burman Committee under the Kolkata Municipal Commissioner, and then came these rules. So these rules basically focused on a very, very comprehensive compliance criteria for solid waste management. Prior to that, the impression in the country was solid waste management is just about sweeping of the streets and removal of garbage which comes from the sweeping waste. But for the first time in our country, this law established a very comprehensive criteria that you have to store the waste, you have to segregate the waste, you have to collect it at source, you have to take it for processing, and then dispose of whatever is really minimum required. The main issue, which I would like to go on repeating, is that it was based on the concept of 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. In Maharashtra in particular, they set up a solid waste management cell in Mumbai, and I happened to head that cell because after my stint in BMC, I volunteered to go kind of on a sabbatical and headed that cell. And we did the entire planning for the state of Maharashtra and went to the extent of even preparing the affidavit to the Supreme Court for the government. Now, there was considerable progress in the country because around that time, JNNU, RM, UID, SSMT type programs, which were funded by Government of India in a big way, they also started. So a lot of things happened. Then the Finance Commission grants started flowing down. And you see all over the country, there was a concept of Ganta Gadi or house-to-house collection system, bell ringing system, etc. So a lot of things improved in terms of collection. Many new processing units were set up in the country, including in Delhi, including in Sholapur in Maharashtra. As you would know, many landfill sites were attempted to be developed. And there were two major issues which could not be addressed at that time. And one was that there was no obligation on the waste generators. The Supreme Court kept firing. In fact, I was in the firing line in the Supreme Court when the hearing was being done, that you have to do this, you have to sensitize citizens to segregate the waste generator. But ultimately, there was no responsibility. So it was law by convenience. That was one challenge. And secondly, acquisition of landfills. Nobody allowed a landfill to be developed in one's vicinity. So as they call NIMBY syndrome, it's a very old cliche. Not in my backyard. Yeah, you should develop. Solid waste should be managed scientifically. But landfill should not be in my backyard. Take it away to a village. And the villagers also are very, very sensitive. They said, no, not you. You take your waste, process it in the city itself. So landfill sites could not be acquired. And that was a huge challenge. And on one hand in Mumbai, it was coming to the, brink of saturation. We didn't have land at all. And on the other hand, for good reasons, some NGOs went to the court that, okay, close this landfill site. Gorai was closed, Malad was closed because it is creating environmental problems. But somehow nobody could give a complete solution. So MCGM was left in a situation of land getting reduced, waste going up. That was the problem. Now then came another turning point in the country, and that was Swachh Bharat Mission, started by the present Prime Minister of the country. And in that, he set up a committee of the Chief Minister. Our present Deputy Chief Minister was part of that committee as the Chief Minister of Maharashtra at that time. And they gave a very, very comprehensive solution. The present situation is that, as I mentioned, just to summarize, it's an obligatory duty of the corporation. And overarching is the Environment Protection Act, under which the solid waste management rules 2016 have been given, and they have this time gone way ahead. They are not only talking of the household waste or the restaurant waste or hotel waste. They are talking of plastic waste. They are talking of construction and demolition waste. They are talking of biomedical waste. They are talking of electronic waste. So they have covered the entire gamut of waste, so to say, in these new set of rules. And then on top of that are the SBM guidelines. And the Prime Minister, one of the very strong points which he has, he monitors things very meticulously. Now, as I mentioned, even 2000 rules, and now in particular, these are based what we call an inverted pyramid. Hierarchy is a negative hierarchy, so to say. The earlier concept of waste management was linear approach. You go on harnessing natural resources, consume it, and then dump it in some sanitary landfill or landfill. And the new mountains, rather than having natural resources, will be comprising of only waste, which is completely mixed. So now they say, since we do not have land, we do not have even resources sufficient, so segregate the waste, minimize it, reuse it, and then recycle. And recycling should be done at two levels. One, at the generator's level itself, and second, at the decentralized points within the wards, for example. They talk of a material recovery facilities in each ward. Then take it second stage to a common landfill site where, again, they will be processed either to energy or compost, whatever is feasible. That's another very sensitive area, frankly speaking, because at that time, there was a huge, I would say, with due respect, the compost lobby in the country. They thought that, and they gave a very false notion of waste is like gold, converted into compost, and it will sell out in the market as a hot cake, which was not the fact. Many units were set up in the country based on that assumption, and they closed down very, very quickly because compost consumption is limited and it goes with a seasonal variation. When there was a sowing season, naturally compost will be consumed. Otherwise, what to do with that? There's a huge carrying cost. Nobody bothered about that. So this came concept of waste to energy also, where there's an option of using biomethanation as a technology for waste management. So all those points were considered. And the last point is landfill. Now, I'm happy that I was given a topic of zero dumping ground solid waste management. So there should be no dumping ground. Dumping meaning indiscriminate dumping. But even landfill, if possible, there should be zero landfill. There's a city called Suryapet in Nalgonda district of Andhra Pradesh. I mean, even now it's in that particular district. And that really achieves, it's a small township, zero landfill. Many cities have developed that. Of course, in a setup of Mumbai, which is a highly commercialized space, that is practically not possible. But even then, you have to reduce it to the minimum requirement. So landfill is the last desirable priority in terms of the waste management hierarchy, or least preferred. Now, in Swachh Bharat Mission, again, lot of things have happened. The treatment capacity has augmented. I mean, what was 18% in way back in 2014 has gone up to 70%. Door-to-door collection has improved 97%. Source segregation has been taken to 85%. They report that Mumbai has achieved 100% source segregation. Now, I will accept that with a pinch of salt because it has not really happened. Because, yeah, it may on a particular day may have happened, but again, probably it has slipped down. So there are some issues. And one of the major issues in source segregation as a citizen, all of us, that even if we try to segregate at source into 2-3 categories, our collection and transportation system has not really adapted accordingly. And on a number of occasions, the waste which is segregated is mixed up again in the trucks and taken to landfill sites. So some challenges are there. So this is the overall strategy for a dumping ground-free India. You have got to segregate the waste at source. Now, not only into broad, biodegradable and recyclable, but within the recyclable, you have to further sort glass, plastic, metal, and there's a third category of what they call domestic hazardous waste. Initially, we didn't consider the sanitary waste, for example, which is generated at home, or some kind of biomedical waste which is generated at home. I mean, as they call India is a diabetes capital, right? So many people take injections, insulins, etc. at home. Where would those needles go? Normally, that goes in the common dustbin, and that is absolutely hazardous for our poor waste collectors, whether they are in the informal sector or in the formal BMC staff. But they have no choice. So, third category has been introduced by the present government and Government of India, that is called domestic hazardous waste. The sanitary pads, etc. That is again, it's a natural phenomena, but we didn't provide for that. So, the third category. Then the collection and transportation. Now, again, collection and transportation has to be minimized in the sense that A, whatever is recyclable, clear-cut, sellable, dispose it off at home. Or at the most, take it to the ward, you sort it out, process it, so that the ultimately secondary transportation is reduced. You see, again, in terms of the climate change agenda, we have to reduce our carbon footprint of the activities of solid waste management. Now, this is one activity, and I tell you, this is the most challenging area to work in any municipality or corporation, because you achieve one full cleanliness on a particular day, next morning you come back to square one again. So anybody who works as chief engineer solid waste management, his job is extremely difficult. It's day in and day out, literally. So collection transportation requirement should be minimized, processing both at central, decentralized and up higher level, management of C&D waste. I mean, I'll definitely highlight, because I'm dealing here with the construction industry. I must tell you that one of the principles of solid waste management rules is that polluters pay. Number one, I mean, waste generators must pay, and waste generators must manage their waste. Don't put everything on municipal corporation. So if you are generating construction and demolition debris, you have got to manage it prima facie. And then whatever is left, it goes to BMCs. Plastic waste management, as I have already mentioned. Now the last point is remediation of all legacy dump sites. Over the years, decades, waste has been dumped indiscriminately. Those sites have to be reclaimed through a process of what you call biomining, and that's a major project that Government of India is supporting. Whatever is compostable has to be taken out, filtered, if not filtered, rather sieved, and then be sold as compost, and remaining recyclables should be disposed of. Now, in terms of sustainability, this is another term that we all use, circular economy model. As they say, again, these are not really proven, but this waste management industry is about $5 billion, and I will use the term US dollar, economy in the country. This I have calculated also, roughly. $5 billion economy. Meaning thereby that if you don't take care of this is a resource. It's not a waste, it's a resource. If you don't use it, this will go down the drain, number one. And if you use it, this will also create a lot of businesses. It will create huge employment potential. Even today, as you all know, India is the best recycler in the world. Maximum recycling of plastic and other types of waste is done in India. The only problem is that it is done in a very unhygienic way. That is where we have to intervene. Can we provide better working conditions to our rag pickers or recyclers? So they are doing their job. And the other part is that they are not taking up what doesn't have economic value. That goes in the drain. In fact, that kind of plastic, this is a debatable point, Dr. Bhave and other experts are here. Some of the plastics which is completely discarded can go as a small substitute of bitumen also in the roads. This was done probably in Tamil Nadu. It was started in Mumbai. Shivare sir, it was the initiative of Mumbai Municipal Corporation, but it has been abandoned. Other cities have developed it. So we need to probably look at again. I could see one executive engineer, Thomre Saab is here. Please look into it. It is doable. So your plastic is taken care of, and you save a little bit on bitumen, the cost, therefore. So these are all resource. And if you don't reuse this resource, what do? You again harness your original, what you call virgin natural resources. And in the process, what do? You harm the sustainability. You consume the natural resources. The very definition of sustainability, which was established way back in 1985 by a commission called Brundtland Commission, they said that harness the natural resources in such a way that you leave something for the posterity also. So we should be very careful. Our resources are limited. And most important of all, land is limited. In Mumbai, 437 or 450 square kilometers of land, 13 million of population. There's a huge demand for affordable housing. There's a huge demand for infrastructure. There's a huge pressure and lobby of green lobby, which is very right, to plant more trees. So where will landfill fit? Landfill, you're not going to get land. So you have got to reduce the waste. Now, these are some good practices. Those were the days when we used to go to foreign countries, see what is the landfill like, how is the waste is processed, right? But now you have got the living model within the country. So if you want to learn anything or cross-learn, there are excellent models which, thanks to Swachh Bharat Mission, are available not very far. Source segregation, Indore is the example which is consistently fifth year, the cleanest city in the country. Panji, many of us may be going to Panji or Goa. You can see for yourself. Biodegradable waste management, Mysore is an example, but our own Vengurla, Mr. Shri is going to come, our Honorable Minister is going to come, and it is his initiative, by the way, in Bangalore. I wish he was here. Material processing, these are some, right, Bhopal, material recovery facilities. Plastic waste management, Gangtok is an example, and that was led by their own Chief Minister, Mr. Chambling. I remember he was awarded at the national level. C&D waste, North Delhi, and this is very, very important. Please visit. Even Indore is a very good example of C&D waste. If you want to look at the technologies, I am told, again, there are experts here, CBRI Roorkee is working a lot on the recycling of construction and demolition debris. So this way, all the examples are available here. If the forum, if the group of developers want to see for themselves what can be done, not only theoretically, but practically, you can visit some of these cities. I am not going to focus too much on these. The C&D waste, largely it is created by new construction, but largely through demolition debris. This is one thing which I want to highlight, that the major generation of waste is not, of C&D waste is not in the new construction, but it is in the demolition and repair work. And that is the problem in Mumbai. Those who are working in the MCGM, they know there is a category of tenantable repairs in Mumbai. And that's a major culprit, I would say, because it is under the liberal system. There's no control on that. And many of us, including me probably as a citizen, when we renovate our flat, put beautiful tiles, discard that material without any responsibility. But much of it is retrievable, reusable. That's the point I want to highlight. And this is what I said, that what can be technologically done. Of course, the experts are here. They will guide you. We did a couple of projects. Dr. Bhave is here from VJTI, that how construction debris and stabilized waste could be used for construction of or manufacturing of the paver blocks. And that was doable, but it was only good for walkways. And this I want to highlight, that waste management rules in general, but C&D waste in particular, it casts responsibility on the waste generators. Summing up, as I said, waste minimization is the mantra, and you have to consider both as a citizen as well as the business group. Now, what is important, as I said, the city solid waste management plans also have to be adapted to that. As I mentioned, one of the problems, citizens segregate, the BMC puts it together. That should not happen. It's not happening in general, but it is happening in parts. And if we do it, it helps the circular economy, conservation of natural resources, and this will also reduce your carbon footprints. See what kind of pollution is caused. Not only pollution, but global warming caused by your moving trucks every day. Thousands of trucks move from south to north Mumbai, maybe to Kanjur Marg or wherever the landfill sites are located. If that could be reduced to a great extent, in fact, that is very much required. And I must tell you, that this is absolutely important, and this will also promote the employment economy, etc. Now, both for government entities as well as business groups. The ESG agenda is applicable to all of us. In fact, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs and the SEBI has also mandated that those which are listed companies are bound by ESG targets. So a lot of things are happening in that domain, in that eco-space. So in any case, you have to do it by law, but if you do it, you will be serving the cause of environment also. The last point I would like to highlight again, that at Mahapreet, that government company, and in our foundation, if any small study is required or if any project is to be required, we can definitely handhold. Thank you very much.
Now we are open for Q&A session for next 5 minutes. So if anybody have any question.
Sir, I wanted to make myself to understand how good the e-waste, particularly for the landfill, because that is going to generate the unwanted radioactive rays, which may affect our health in a very bad way.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Earlier it was not, and everything was being put together in the same system. But now we have got the separate e-waste, electronic waste rules. So as I said, segregation is a common thread all through. The other part is that normally e-waste, it gives you good economic value also. So normally people won't dump it so easily. So there are separate set of e-waste rules under which there are different processing technologies. And this is a very specialized area. So it should not go, it cannot go to landfill. It cannot be burned in any thermal based technology which is burning the solid waste. So it has to go its own route. Of course, it's a detailed discussion. I'll give you an example. A company working somewhere in Thane, again, I won't name, and they are recycling or working on the waste created by discarded mobile phone, for example. This is very complicated or very, very advanced. And in that, one of the challenges that they face is that they have to see that the data that is stored in the mobile phone is first eliminated. So lot many challenges are there. Similarly, anything which involves copper wire or maybe other kinds of wire also. So there are different technologies which have been mentioned. Unfortunately, we don't have time, but we can and we must discuss what are the technology options for e-waste. But certainly it cannot go to landfill. Yeah.
I'm Nikhil Desai. I'm a retired engineer. I want to draw your attention to 3 points. If Indore, a small city, can win Swachhata Abhiyan Award for 6 consecutive years as #1 clean city, and Mumbai having 35-40,000 crore budget per year cannot manage its waste, it is not correct. All your slides and other things are just on academic thing. Practically you must do. Number 2 is other countries in the world convert the waste into energy so easily. We are unable to put one plant in Devnar or wherever we are dumping to convert this huge mountain. It has gone to 20 floor now, that mountain of waste. Why we can't burn and convert it into energy? It is available technology in the world since last so many years. So we are not interested. In fact, we are just interested in this paperwork and other things. And third is, if the single-use plastic is the cause of causing blockage in stormwater drains and it cannot be destroyed for 400 years and all we know all this, we must stop manufacturing single-use plastic, thinnest material plastic. What stops us? The government. If they are really serious, all these 3 steps should be taken. The waste should be converted into energy. The single-use plastic should stop.
Very, very pertinent questions. First of all, if Indore can achieve, why can't Mumbai achieve? No, see, there's no justification. Mumbai must achieve. Mumbai has got the resources and the highly qualified technical manpower also. Now, of course, at the same time, there are some challenges in the sense that Mumbai's density, the kind of slum population that Mumbai has, it throws a few challenges. And that by and large comes in the way of then we have got a huge population, millions, etc. But still, I'm not justifying that. If Indore can achieve, Mumbai can also achieve. And one way it can achieve is the whole Mumbai solid waste management is mind-boggling. Break it down into zones. Break it down into wards, administrative ward. Even I will go to the extent of saying, consider the councillor's ward or corporator's ward as a unit. I think I've run out of time probably. So if that is done, then you can visualize the complete, Vengola model in each corporator's ward. So do it bottoms up. So approach has to be changed. As far as why we cannot achieve the energy conversion, one of the reasons is that solid waste management projects are not economically viable in the sense that they will pay for themselves. People have to pay the tipping fee. People have to pay for the waste to be processed. And if they have to pay to the MCGM. So yeah, there's a provision of law that users' fees must be levied. It must be collected, but people should also be able to pay. Single-use plastic, about that, yeah, there are rules. But again, last point from me, don't put everything on MCGM or the government. We are equal partners in solid waste management as waste generators. If we think in terms of not buying plastic bags, not using it ourselves gradually, and then there is a pressure from top also, we will be achieving better results. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Mr. Jain, Professor Bhave would